Hi everyone, welcome to this beautiful day, in Nova Scotia at least. We're heading out to enjoy the day, but before we do, we're going to do a little bit of feel-good movement. You will need your mat, and optional to grab some small hand weights, 1 pound to probably up to 3 pounds would be great, or just some soup cans if you don't have any hand weights at home or anything to add a little bit of resistance. Today's class is going to be a combined, a basic level like introductory and level 1, sort of in between the two, but also designed to be safe for those living with low bone density, so osteoporosis or osteopenia. And the big things, just as a review, in those conditions, like if you have some low bone density, then the movements of the spine that you won't see us do in the class are in gravity, any sort of flexion. We don't do curl-ups, we don't do any forced twist, we don't do roll-downs, that sort of thing. So we work a lot in neutral spine, and we still get a great workout. So we're going to start on our back today. So coming down onto your mat, having your weights nearby. If you do have some low bone density, it's nice to come down on your back, on your side, and then rolling onto your back, instead of trying to curve the spine as you come down. And we're going to start by getting our foundation, as we often do, with our neutral pelvis, and just verify that neutral pelvis. Sometimes we think we're living in neutral, and then we don't. If somebody else looks at us, they correct us, right? So hip pointers and that pubic bone in a nice horizontal line. If you want to put the heel of your hands on the two bony hip pointers and the fingertips down on the pubic bone, and just rock into what we call a posterior pelvic tilt. So you have the pubic bone at this point higher than the hip pointers, and then rock the other way, where the hip pointers are coming up and higher than the pubic bone, right? And then you want to settle into a point where, a place where you feel hip pointers and pubic bone, nice horizontal line, or as close to that position as you can be comfortable. Then let's pay attention to the knees and the feet. So get those feet so that they're just sit bone width apart, right? And probably that's about equal to one of you, like a fist. If you were to put a fist between the knees or a fist between the feet, that's how far apart your feet are. And uncurl the toes. Really try to feel the soles of the feet heavy into the mat. And just the hands at your sides at first. Try to drop the shoulder blades down towards the mat and also slide them down away from your ears. And I just want you to practice your core breath. So nice, maybe 3 or 4 breaths where you breathe in and you're trying to feel that air go deep into the sides of the rib cage, even into the space that's behind your low back and the mat. And as you breathe out, I want you to feel like you engage the pelvic floor muscles. So you do that gentle Kegel motion. You draw in with the deep belly, but you don't have any movement of the spine. And then breathe in to relax. To just have that nice breath in, and on your out breath, just feeling your breath connect with those abdominals, connect with the pelvic floor. Breath in, and a nice even breath out. And on the next breath, you can start to rock the pelvis gently. So nice breath in, you're in neutral. And as you breathe out, you're going to allow that low spine to move gently into what we call imprint. That low spine to gently settle down towards the mat, the tummy button, the tummy drawing back towards the spine. Breath in to go back to neutral. And out breath. And this is just a wonderful way to connect with your core. Be aware of the movement at that low back, the position of the pelvis, and the nice evenness of your breath. Good. And then I want you to settle into that neutral. Verify it again if you want. And we're going to take, on our breath in, those arms off the mat and float them up towards the ceiling, right overhead. Keeping the shoulders down away from the ears, and exhale to press them down by your sides. Nice breath in to reach the arms overhead. And exhale to press them down by your sides. And so this could be quite an easy exercise, right? What are we wasting our time with? But no, it's going to be hard. So as you bring the arms overhead, you're leaving the head, the neck, and the whole back of the rib cage nice and relaxed on the mat. So hold those low ribs, hold the solar plexus back. If you're tight in the shoulders, that's going to be a little bit of work. Keep the elbows nice and straight, and try to keep nice and broad in your collarbones and between the shoulder blades, and have a nice long neck. So as the arms come overhead, try not to let the shoulders climb up. Those shoulder blades slide up towards your ears. Try to keep them nice and gently slid down your back. Beautiful. Good. And then we're going to change the motion at the arms. We're going to bring the arms overhead. Good. And then we're going to circle them around in as big a circle as we possibly can, hovering about an inch from the floor, back to where we up and overhead. Then leave those palms up towards the ceiling. Wide, big, beautiful circle where you open across the chest. Palm. Breath in overhead. Hold that solar plexus region back, the pelvis in neutral. Circle the arms. You should just be trying to feel a nice openness across the chest. Maybe a nice little warming up in the shoulders. Good. And we're going to do one more like this. Nice breath in to breathe those arms overhead. Feel nothing shift in your spine. Circle the arms around, back by your sides, and we'll put those arms, the palms down by your hips. Coming back to the movement of the pelvis, nice breath in your neutral, and on your out breath this time, allowing that spine to move. And lifting first the back of the pelvis, and then a little bit of the low spine, maybe a little bit of the low ribs, right? You come up as high as you're comfortable. Maybe you can come to have the knees and the hips and the shoulders all in a nice line, but if that gives you some pain in the back, then you can be a little lower. That's okay. Breath in when you're here, and then peel it down. Nice breath in when you're back on the mat in neutral. Exhale to peel back up. And just work on this at your own breath pace, pausing at the top to take a nice breath in, and then exhaling to peel it down. Really trying to feel that becomes a smoother motion as you repeat it, right? So peeling up, hips in the air, breath in, and then this nice smooth motion, one bone of the back at a time. Return to the mat and stopping when you're in neutral for that lovely breath in. Exhaling, peeling up again. Do you have even weight on each foot? Are the hips nice and level? And have the knees stayed the same distance apart, whether you're up or down? Try not to let them get wider at the top. Good. And now we're going to add in some arms, the same arms we warmed up with. So hips are up, arms are down by your sides. And now as you peel down, you're going to let the arms go overhead. You're going to keep the shoulders away from the ears, right? Good. And we're going to allow you to go right back to neutral. But exhale, as you peel back up, you press the arms down. And we're going to speed it up a little bit. So peel down, arms overhead. Exhale to peel it up and place the arms down by your feet. Arms overhead, pelvis down. Pelvis up, arms down by your feet. If you get the coordination wrong, it's a modification. It's not a horrible mutilation of the exercise or anything. It's just that you're working on back body press as the hips come up, and then lengthen the shoulders as the pelvis is down. Let's do two more. Hips up, hips down, hips up, hips down. This time you're going to leave the hips up. Arms are at your sides. A little bonus, if you want, just for balance, you can place the arms, reach them right up towards the sky. If you want more challenge, and we're just going to raise one heel at a time. So you have the hips high. You're thinking of tucking the pubic bone up towards your nose. So you've got like a little pelvic tip. And squeeze the right glute, right bum cheek.
And lift the left heel. Leave the ball of the foot on the floor for your basic level, or if this is introductory to you, switch and lift the right heel, and then the left. So you're just alternating. Heel raise with the pelvis staying nice and still. The center of you staying centered over the center of your mat, so no wobble side to side. And if you're feeling like a heel lift that's pretty good, then you can float the whole leg up to tabletop, but you want those hips to stay level. So up to you and where you're at in your movement training. Good. And you still get a great workout if you're just lifting the heel. Good. Perfect. Good. One more with the left heel raising, or the whole foot. One more with the right. Take a nice breath in. And last time, enjoying that peel down. One bone of the back at a time. Gorgeous. Good.
From there, we're just going to bring both knees in towards the chest. So either grabbing onto the front of the shin with the hand or behind the thigh if the knee doesn't like that. And just 3 nice breaths where you're broad in your shoulders, you're relaxed in your head and neck, and as you exhale, you draw in with the belly, but you also pull in with the arms to draw those knees or thighs in towards the chest. Breath in to give yourself a little space, and breath out to see if you can draw those knees or thighs in a little deeper. And you can have the knees a little bit apart or a little close together. You can even, once you draw in, you can do a little rock side to side. Just what feels good and lengthens the hips after we did that work. Good. From there, we're going to lower the legs. Let's straighten out the right leg. And you want the pelvis to be in neutral. So put your hands on the bony pelvis if you want to use that to help you. And bring the left leg up to tabletop without that pelvis shifting at all. So thighs vertical, shins horizontal, and we're going to move this leg, this thigh, in a circle, keeping the pelvis nice and still. So 1 breath per circle, doesn't matter when you breathe really, but you're going to bring the thigh across the body. You're going to bring it down and around, out to the side, which is often hard for us. Usually the pelvis will look to the same side. You're going to keep yours nice and grounded and come back to the center, a little pause. We're going to do 3 more this way. So across the midline, down and around, out to the side. Maybe use your out breath there to help yourself stay steady, and then back to center where you started. Again, nice circle, down and around, out to the side, and back. Last one in this direction. And pause. Reverse your circle. And hopefully you feel the pelvis staying nice and still. If there's a little wobble, just see if you can try to smooth it out. And also try to keep some tension out of your upper body or the leg that's on the mat. You don't need tension in the rest of the body. You want to be strong in the core, using the abdominals a little bit, using the breath, but you don't want to be gritting the teeth or shrugging the shoulders, right? I forget how many we've done. We're doing a bonus circle on this side, I think. Good. Perfect. Hold this leg here, nice and centered, and take a nice breath in, and we're going to straighten that leg without letting the pelvis shift. Good. And bend it again. Just let it relax. We're going to do that again. Exhale. Try to reach the toes towards the sky. And allow that knee to bend and just be easy and relaxed. As you exhale, you're holding that spine nice and still. You're feeling the pelvis stay rooted to the mat. It's not as easy as it looks, is it? And if you're tight at all in the hamstrings, you'll feel quite a stretch or a tension developing in the back of the leg. But that's good. You're using the strength of your front leg to lengthen the back. Good. One more time. Exhaling. Beautiful. Hold it there. Reach the toes, reach the toes, reach the toes. And then relax it down. Good. And then that left leg can straighten out nice and long. Keep your hands on the hips if you're using the hands to help you, know where that neutral pelvis is. Bring the right leg up to tabletop. Get ready for your circles. Starting across the midline first, down and around, and out to the side and back to center. Across the midline, down and around, back to center. Are you holding the low ribs back so that you're really using the abdominals? And are you relaxed in the upper body? Good. Let's reverse the circle. Out to the side, down and around across the midline. And you are trying to make the circle as big as you can control. This ends up being like a very nourishing exercise for the hip, where you take that hip through, this big circular range of motion, not at the expense of moving the waist or the pelvis, but in the end, you want that circle to be big, 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 big. So that's your visualization, your goal. Center everything here, so the thighs vertical, pelvis is neutral, spine isn't going to move. You can relax the knee, and on your exhale, you're going to straighten the knee, point the toes towards the ceiling, and see, if you're tight in the hamstring, you might stop before the knee gets straight, of course, because your goal is not to move in the waist. And then allow that to relax again, and exhale, stretching those toes towards the sky, and then relaxing out of it. Good, and you might feel this hip drop back, this pelvis, if you're twisting to do that motion, or you might feel the back flatten, which you don't want to. You'd really like to stay nice and steady in your waist so that you feel a nice length in the back of the leg, and quite a bit of work going on in the front. Make this one your last one. Exhale, lengthen, 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 lengthen. Reach those toes towards the sky, harder than it looks, and release it down. Good. Perfect. Let's bend the knees again. Just doing a little bit with our weights here now. So taking the weights and only gripping them in your hands as hard as you need to not drop them, right? So don't use 10 pounds of force when 5 will do, I think the saying is. Reach the weights up towards the sky. You're going to have the knees right together, the feet right together. Shoulders are nice and wide. Neck is nice and long. Beautiful. We're going to do a little bit of shoulder movement. So on your breath in, you're going to reach the weights further up towards the sky by widening the shoulder blades. And on your exhale, draw those shoulder blades back and down towards the mat. Reach the weights up towards the sky and draw the shoulder blades back and down towards the mat on your exhale. Okay. So we do this motion in our warm-up often. We do it when we're on hands and knees. And now we're just doing it with weights today. So reach, reach, reach up towards the sky. And as you draw the shoulder blades back and down towards the mat, the elbows don't bend. This is all motion from the shoulder blade. The spine is nice and still. It's a warm-up of your scapular muscles. One last one. Reach those weights towards the ceiling and then draw those shoulder blades back and down towards the mat, and then settle into a spot where you're halfway between each of those positions. Bring the weights right together. And on your breath in, you're going to let those weights get wide. You're going to keep the arms straight. Wide, 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 wide. And exhale to bring them right back together. So nice breath in. Opening across the chest. Right back to the center. If you don't have weights, you still get a nice, beautiful chest opening. But if you have the weights, you're working on the front chest muscles, the front of the shoulders. Just getting a little bit of strengthening there. Beautiful breath in. Exhale to close it up. We'll do 2 more like this. Open, 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 open. Keep the head and neck relaxed, the throat relaxed. Hold this one an inch from the mat. Reach longer out of the tips of your fingers, or like try to stretch the weights in different directions. And we're going to lift those weights an inch and lower. An inch and lower. It's a long lever, so even if you have light weights, this can be hard. You're relaxed in your neck, right? Relaxed in the head. You're getting this power from the chest and trying to feel the connection to your belly, to your core. 3, 2, 1, beautiful, and then zip it all up into the center. Good, perfect. Hold, actually bring the weight shoulder width apart now. And if you're just focusing on the arms, if you're really rather new to this, then on your exhale, we're going to let those arms go overhead. What you can control before those ribs would pop up, right? So you're going to hold the ribs back, right? And then come back up as you breathe in. If you're able to, coordination-wise, as the arms go overhead, we'll bring a leg up to tabletop and then return everything. But if you're doing the arms and the leg, then you have to focus on the rib cage and you have to focus on the pelvis because you want that pelvis to stay nice and still. No change in the curve of the spine. And then also feel the rib cage stay nice and still. Good. So you can keep the elbows nice and straight, put the shoulders down away from the ears. Good. Do you feel it in your abdominals? Yeah. Perfect. Hold this one up. I want you to leave the weights where they are. And we're going to do a little repeater with the leg. We're going to straighten the leg out on an angle. You're going to lower it what you can control, and you're going to bring it back in. And we're going to do 5 more because we're going for 6. Lower and pull it back in. Straighten, lower, pull it back in. Feel the strength in the abdominals as you hold the low ribs down towards the mat, as you hold the arms still, and as you work that leg. If you need a break with the weights at any time, you just bring them back to the ceiling. That was our last one anyway. Bring it all in, lower the weights for a little mini break, lower that leg, bring the left leg up to tabletop. Optional that those arms are reached overhead and holding there. Broaden your collarbones, relaxed in your head and neck, and on your exhale, straightening that leg on an angle, lowering it what you can control, which just means no movement in the pelvis, no movement in the waist, no bulging in the abdominals. Good. For 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Beautiful. Bring it all in, lower those weights. Good. And lower the leg. Perfect. We're going to come onto your side, Sam, and you're going to keep one of your weights in your hand. The other one can just go off to the side. The bottom arm is your pillow, so either with that elbow straight or bent or a little cushion if your arm doesn't like laying on it like that. We're going to do the nice clam shell with our rotation. We've done this in other videos, but the motion at the arm is to keep the upper arm pinned to your side and just be lifting the weight directly up towards the ceiling without rolling back in the chest. With the leg, the motion is to open the knee, but not roll back in the pelvis. And you have the option of having the feet on the mat, or a little more difficult, to float the feet and do the motion from there. We're just doing the regular clam today. So nice breath in to prepare. On your out breath, and lower. And lower. We're using this as a strengthening today, so we're doing it rather quick. Good. We're going to do 4 more. No, we're not. We're going to do 6 more. We're going to do 4 more now. We're going to do 10. 4. Good. 3. 2. Beautiful. 1. Lovely. If you had the feet in the air, lower them down. Straighten out the top leg. And it's just going to hover there. The pelvis is nice and stacked. There's no movement of the leg. And you're going to take the weight, the arm, and reach it right up overhead towards the ceiling. And the motion at the arm is going to be to lower that arm overhead, just what you can control, so it might be small, and then down by your hip. So you're making this lovely rainbow with the arm. So overhead, what you can control, and then down by your hip. And I'd like you to imagine that as you're tracing this rainbow-shaped arc with the weight, that you're trying to make it bigger. So your next sweep, you're reaching that arm more towards the ceiling and more down towards your hip. And then the next sweep, further down towards your hip, further towards the ceiling, a bigger arc if you can, because hopefully you're loosening up in the shoulder. You're getting used to this coordination of these muscles. Good. Big, 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 big sweep. This one, if it's comfortable, hold the arm overhead. You're going to be working hard in the shoulder, and we're going to circle the leg for 3, for 2, for 1. If it's too much to have the arm there, that's okay. Bring it down. 3, 2, 1, and bring it in. Arm to the ceiling, and then lower the arm. Feel that, eh? So let's do the other side. Bottom arm is your pillow. Bent knees. Getting ready for clamshell with the leg. And the rotation, this is a rotator cuff exercise with the shoulder. So elbows pinned to your side, or very close to your side, nice and still. Nice breath in to prepare. Remember you have the option of floating the feet for a little bit more difficulty in the legs. And on your exhale, raising up and lower down. Raise it up, lower down. For 8. If you had your back up against a wall behind you, you wouldn't roll into that wall, right? It would be nice and still. Good. 4 more. 4, and 3, and 2. Are you relaxed in your neck? That shoulder that's working, down away from your ear. I think that's our last one. Good. Release that. Lower the feet if you had them floating, and then straighten out the top leg so it's in line. If someone were looking at you from directly above, the ankle, the knee, the hip, the shoulder, the ear, they all line up. And then that top arm, with the weight or without the weight, especially if you have an old shoulder injury, you could do this without the weight. It's reached up towards the sky, and we're going to raise it overhead, not allowing it to sneak forward, directly overhead. That's why it might be a small movement, and then down towards your hip. Up, 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 but always reaching long out of that arm and keeping the shoulder away from the ear. Right? I don't care if you do a small movement. I'd rather not see this, the shoulder up to the ear, right? So good form in your neck and your shoulder, and as big a movement in the arm as is possible after that. Good. If you get too tired in the leg with this isometric exercise, then you could just stay in the clamshell position resting. Good. Really big sweep. Reach overhead. Down towards your hip for a last time. The next one, if you're able to, hold it overhead. So an isometric here where you're really going to feel yourself working. If it's too much, then just lower the weight. Here we're going to do 3 circles with the leg, keeping that pelvis still, feeling that outer hip. Beautiful. And reverse for 3, for 2, for 1. Gorgeous. And lower the leg, bring the arm towards the sky, and then lower it down. You're almost ready to rest. We're going to do a little posture exercise from here. So coming onto your bellies. Taking let's go put those to the side. Taking a moment to find your neutral pelvis. And that just means, there we go. That just means seeing where the bony points of your pelvis naturally hit the mat. Right? So do you feel your pubic bone against the mat? Do you feel your hip pointers? Do you naturally feel one side more than the other? Some people have a bit of rotation at the pelvis. Then you could use a treatment maybe. But feel where your bony pelvis is. Put the hands out to your sides, just laying those forearms on the mat. And then take the face, and you're just going to leave it straight down towards the mat. So maybe resting the forehead, or maybe just hovering if that's too intense for the head and neck. So nice breath in to prepare.
The feet are just a little bit apart. They don't need to be touching today. On your out breath, draw in with the deep belly, stabilize the pelvis and the low back, and then lift the face and the throat, and then a little bit of the breastbone to come up to this low hover. And I want you to first slide your shoulder blades down your back, and then I want you to think about getting a little wider between the shoulder blades once you're up here, and then peel it down. So nice breath in when you're down, exhale, feel the tummy draw away from the mat a little bit, and then float up with the face and the throat and the breastbone to come to this lovely hover, but then slide your shoulder blades down your back and try to get wider between them, and then peel it back down. Nice breath in, exhaling to come up again. And we're just focusing on that today. We're focusing on coming up, getting the shoulder blades to glide down towards our pelvis, and feeling like you're broader between the tips of your shoulders. And then peel it down. We're going to do 3 more. Exhaling to come up. You should be comfortable in the low back with this. Sometimes this is a hard exercise for us to do, right? A lot of people, I guess, would find this one of the hardest things that we do in the classes, to lay on our belly and then lift. But it's really, really great for the postural muscles. And if you do have some low bone density, it's worth trying to become comfortable in this series. Whether you put a small cushion under the hip pointers at first, whether you only hover an inch, that's fine. You still get all the muscles working. You don't have to try to come up high, high, high. It's just the act of strengthening those posture muscles. Good. Let's hold the next one up. And just at that low hover, you don't have to be at your peak. Okay? Take a nice breath in, and on your out breath, you're going to leave the hand touching the mat, but you're just going to slide it forward. And you're going to try to stay with the shoulder down away from the ear, and the idea of being broad between the shoulders. Bring the right arm back in, and then try the left arm. Just slide it. Don't worry about lifting it up today. But I'd like you to see if you can keep the shoulder down away from the ear, especially when the arm gets all the way forward. Okay. As always, you're trying to stay nice and still in the pelvis and low back. You're strong in the abdominals. Good. We're going to do one more with the right arm. Exhaling to go forward. Inhaling to pull it back in. Keeping that shoulder blade down away from the ear. Beautiful. Good. Take a nice breath in. And then melt it down. Bring the hands underneath the forehead here. And we're just going to do a few single leg lifts. So nice breath in. Before you raise the leg, you draw in with the belly. You squeeze the right bum cheek. Float the right leg. Lower it down. And switch sides. And switch. And switch. And if you've done any other videos where we've done this, you know that your self-check, if you want, is to put the fingertips underneath those hip pointers. And as you raise the leg, you're not to feel a change in pressure. You don't want to feel that bony hip pointer squish your fingers all of a sudden. And it's quite a hard movement to control. This belly series is a challenging one. So don't give up if you don't find it comfortable, but maybe make the movement smaller. You don't have to lift the leg very high. It's just the act of, as soon as you're lifting the weight of the leg, as soon as you've engaged all those muscles, you've got some of the benefit. So don't worry about getting a perfect exercise right off the bat. Good. Last time with the left leg, lower it down, and then take the arms, bring them underneath the rib cage or the shoulders. You can to come back into a lovely shell stretch or child's pose, and just take your time to let those hips soften, to let the back lengthen. And as it feels right, if it does, you can lower the forehead to the mat, and you can bring the arms around by the feet, and really let the shoulder blades spread apart, be wide.
just in that area where you just worked. And just take 3 breaths in where you're trying as you breathe in to think of that air going, to the low rib cage in the back, then to the low back itself, then to the upper pelvis, and then see if you can finally connect that breath with your pelvic floor, feeling that breath go, as deep as your tailbone, between your sit bones. Awesome. Perfect. And then bring the hands forward. If you have a little bit of low bone density, you're going to straighten up in your spine first. So you're going to look forward, and then you're going to help yourself with the hands to come up to nice and vertical. If you don't worry about low bone density, you can roll it up. Da, 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 da. Good. And then before we end, just take a nice breath in. Let those arms float overhead. Bring them out to the side in your lovely cactus position, and then just do a nice lift of the face, throat, breastbone. Press the elbows back gently. And exhale when you're done. Thanks very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed that one. A little push if you're basic, but a nice combination, I think, of basic and level 1. Enjoy the beautiful day if you're local, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.